Our last topic for the course is how to manage a tech-savvy organization. And so, if we continue our evolution or how management has changed over time, we are in that contingency view of management, the most modern view of management as we move through history. And that contingency view of management says that what a manager does really is going to be dependent on the context, on the unique situation the manager finds themselves in, and that there's no one right solution. So we talked in previous videos about how in that contingency view of management, we look at globalization, ethical and social responsibility, sustainability, and now in our last two videos, we'll look at the age of technology. So let's start by looking at management information systems. And we have an entire course in management information systems if this interests you. I'm just going to move my head over a little bit since I'm blocking some of the words. So when we're talking about management information systems, we're talking about the study of how people, technology, organizations, how they work together. And so we're looking at the role of technology and how people interact with technology in the organization. This includes hardware and software, managing databases, setting up networks and maintaining them. It also involves functional systems. We've talked about a couple of those already. And business intelligence. So we'll have a separate video. We'll just look specifically at business intelligence and data analytics. But in this video, let's look at those first four just briefly. So if you are working in management information systems, so if you are managing the information system, we're looking at how people interact with hardware and software. So for example, here we have an information system to support payments. And so if you think about at the grocery store, you go into the grocery store to buy products, then people need to pay, right, at the cash register. So we have a cash register, that's the hardware. We might have a database that has information about our customers, so we may track how much people are buying. And we're going to have some software that's going to record the sales. And we're going to collect data, right? So we have our inventory that is in a database, and we want to track which inventory is moving based on those sales. We have a procedure involving a human where they operate the cash register. And so we can look at these information systems and how much of the system is automated and how much is hands-on. So in this case, the support payment system, it's mostly automated work done by computers and software, which is the cash register is recording the sales, it is keeping track and amending the inventory database based on what is moving out the door. All of that is automated. And so the role of the person is simply maybe just to swipe the product so that it's entered into that computer system and to ensure that the payment transaction went through. So we can have a highly automated system. We can look at an information system that's supporting purchases here. And this one is on the end of tracking what the company is purchasing. So we're getting in our supplies, getting in our inventory, as opposed to the previous one where we are looking at payments so that the products go to the customer. Here we're looking at where our products, our inventory is coming into the business. So here we'll need some hardware, we'll need a computer, we'll need some software that maybe connects us to the supplier and allows us to do our online purchasing. So maybe we have an e-commerce type system where we can go online and order our inventory. And we probably have a database where we're keeping track of our inventory, but there's also the database attached to the supplier in terms of we go to see if they have what we need, is it there? And then that will tell us whether or not our order will come through and when. The procedure is a purchasing order, or maybe that might be a more automated process where the purchase order is developed or created by clicking into our software and submitting that order. So here we have more of a balance between the computer and the human. The human is involved in a lot of this process. So you can see it can be more automated, it can be more balanced between, and the information system is looking at how all of these work together, the human, the hardware, the software. Now, we said that management information systems is that combination of hardware and software. It also includes database management. And so we need to think about, if you think about an Excel spreadsheet, it's very simple, right? A couple columns and rows. Well, the information about your inventory may be more complicated than that. The inventory about your sales, your customers, it's more than just what fits onto one spreadsheet. So you can think about it as lots of spreadsheets. And so if we think about databases are multiple spreadsheets or tables, and they need to be able to have relationships between them to connect so that we know what our inventory is, we know how much it costs, we know when it's moving, we know information about our clients, we know what they buy. All of these tables are tied together, and that's what builds a database. And so we need a database management system. And we need a way to pull information from the database. So how is the information stored? How are the tables tied together? And then how can we query or pull information from that database to give us the information we need? So when you take a management information systems course, you'll often do work in MS Access. And so that's the Microsoft a database management system where it's multiple Excel spreadsheets kind of tied together. If you have lots of data, so huge database, you might use something called MySQL in order to query or pull information from even larger databases. So the key with the databases is that there needs to be a way to pull information into query. So where this might be used in your business would be, let's say, for example, you are part of the faculty association at Red Deer College. Well, here's the website for Red Deer College, right? Just a standard Google website. Well, if you're managing for the faculty association, you want there to be the ability for there to be a portion of the website that is only accessible to members. So somehow they can log in and they can get information specific to them or submit information specific to them. So what would be behind this website would be a database, and we would need a way to manage that database to allow for that information to be put in and to allow for individuals to pull information out. So if we could look at an example of a database, this one is a database for telethon volunteers. Okay, so we have collected information about people who are volunteering to work in our telethon. So when we think about that, okay, well, who could we get to volunteer? So they're a prospect. To get them to volunteer, we have where they live, their email address, their contact information. And so then we can tie to that additional information like their phone number and information about when we talk to them to see if they would be interested. And maybe we have a particular employee within our organization who did the contacting to see if they would be interested. So you can see we have essentially tables of information that need to be tied together. Our list of employees is tied to who called the different prospects. So you can see the box that has the employee information, and then you have a green box there that says contact. So another table that says this person was contacted at this time, and it's tied to the employee list by the person who did the contacting. Now, who that employee contacted, the prospect, is going to be tied to another table in terms of the list of prospects and information about them. So the problem is that because these things are all tied by different information, it's not just one giant table. We don't just have a row, which is the prospect and the employee who contacted it and the contact and the phone. So if it's a very simple set of data, we could do that. But what if we contacted them multiple times? What if we had multiple employees who talked to them? So when you get to that multiple dimensions and it's no longer just a flat table, then we need a database. And when you have a database, you need, I'm just covering up information. So I'm just going to move my head out of the way for a second, up here maybe. when you have a database, you need some kind of common key that connects the tables. Okay. And so each table is going to have a column that is unique. That's the table key. And then it may have other parts where it repeats. So we could, for example, in our contact, have that the employees contacted many people. So the employee themselves is not unique. They may show up multiple times and they may have contacted many people on a specific date. So again, the date is not going to be unique. So we need one part of that table that is unique, the unique identifier. So maybe in that table, it's the prospect who was contacted. And in the table that has the information about the prospects, their name might be the unique identifier that only appears once in that table. So here we have a table key for each of the tables. And then we need a common key, something that connects the two tables together. So one table is all about the person who might volunteer and their information, right? Where they live, their email address. And then on the other table, we have that same unique identifier of that prospect's name. And then we have all the information about when we contacted them about volunteering. So we need a way to tie those tables together. And when you look at here, you can see that the table keys, what's unique in the table, may not be the same in every table. So the employee list, the unique identifier is the name of the employee. In the prospect list, the unique identifier is the name of the prospect. So here, that unique identifier isn't the same, but you're going to need something that's in common to connect the tables in order for us to pull information in reports that say, okay, well, tell me this employee, who all did they contact? Or this prospect, how many times have they been contacted? When are they willing to work? So it's important that we connect the spreadsheets and the information together as we build our database. So when it comes to management information systems, we have hardware and software. So we have computers, we have for the cash register, things like that, software that is allowing us to pull or put in information. And often that software is some form of database management where we can collect tables of information that are tied together with some common identifiers. The other thing that's involved in management information systems is networks. And so if you're managing an information system, you need to look at how are the computers and the hardware within your organization connected together so that all of those computer systems can access the same database management systems and software. So you can think about, for example, in an office space, let's say that everyone in the office space has a computer and those computers need to be able to print. And so we have what is called a local area network. Put my face back down here, which is a group of computers connected together. And then we have network interface cards, which allow the devices to connect to that network. So you can think about your computer, right, can connect to the printer down the hall. We can connect to shared hard drives. So building this network so that information can be shared between. If it is just in a local area, it's your local area network. And then, of course, we know that we're sharing information and have computers connected to each other through the internet, right? So then we have a much bigger network that we're connecting to. So managing that network, what computers can connect to each other, how do they talk to each other, is part of management information systems as well. Let's go back to our main here. So we're looking at how people, technology, organizations, how they interact. We talked about hardware and software, database management, and networks. So we need the network so the hardware and the software and multiple hardwares can interact with each other, and so that we can get into those databases. Now, when we talk in generic terms about some of these systems that people use, we're talking about functional systems. So it is a management information system that is tied to a functional area of the organization. So let's look at some examples. And we've talked about some of these already. So one example of a functional system is tied to our marketing and managing of our clientele. So this is our customer relationship management system. And what we have here is a database of current and potential customers, ones that have shown interest, that have clicked on our website. It may look at online orders. And so we're looking at our customer relationship management system is how often are we interacting with the customer? Can we turn them from a suspect, someone who might be interested, into a repeat client, into a champion? So tracking how much they order, how much they interact with us, the level of interest, maybe how many times we've contacted them and chatted with them. So you can see here with this is specific to one functional area, more the marketing and sales end of the organization, but again, tying together that database, the hardware and the software. In supply chain management, we have a system where we share information across the supply chain. So think about your suppliers, the factory, all the way distributor, wholesaler, retailer. Everyone can see what is happening in terms of orders. So if you think, for example, you are Ford, maybe you are Cam Clark Ford, so you sell the trucks, you need to be able to see what is Ford producing, what is in the production line, so that you know what color, what models are coming out. You can see what is on the lot at other dealerships. And so this helps you as you're working with your customer in terms of, will we have what they're looking for? So it's the sharing of purchase orders. So we can, through this system, order from the suppliers, and the factory, the production, can look at what sales, what's in demand, what color of truck, what design of truck should we be producing, and we can track the movement of the inventory, like the trucks moving from the manufacturing plant all the way to the dealership. So I should say shipping notices and invoices. So we're tracking the material and the orders across the supply chain. Now, there are functional systems that go even broader. So enterprise requirement planning is software that allows you to take that supply chain management and that customer relationship management and go even broader across the organization. So here we have software now that's integrating our finances, our human resources. We have the logistics and the manufacturing aspect tied with that supply chain and customer relationship management. So now not only do we know what customers are wanting and have that tied to production and the movement of materials, but then we also tie that to scheduling, who's going to work when, how many people do we need on a particular shift, and tying that to ordering of materials and supplies and tracking in terms of revenue and expenses. So the entire system in terms of the organization's operations are tied into a single system, a collection of databases and tables tied together, so you can see how what the customer is asking for leads to changes in production, leads to changes in what staffing we need, changes in terms of the financials of the organization, and how all of those operations are tied together. So we're seeing more and more in terms of databases, functional systems, and the use of technology in all areas of the organization's operations. And so if we're looking at our list of management information systems, the last one we're going to talk about is business intelligence. And so this is using data analytics to help the organization, and we'll do a separate video related to that one.